Okay. All right. It's probably already started. It's already recording, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah. So you've been here before, but this is the first time in the guest chair.
Correct.
Fantastic. And was that the first time that you were here? Was that the first time you've been to this restaurant?
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's not bad. It's not a bad view over there. I'm looking at the Harbour
Not
Bridge
complaining.
right here.
Oh. Okay, I can't see the bridge. I
Yeah.
can see the Opera House.
It's off camera,
Stunning.
folks, but that's okay. And we're also in front of a live studio audience.
Yeah, lots of people here.
Woo! So nice to see you. There's Brett. Annabelle's in the background on the phone. There's going to be some more people coming. So sometimes we're going to do this in front of live. If you want to be a special guest, hit us up. But today we're going to be talking AI. So I know it's the data, like there's a data science side to things, but we also have AusDeFi. But we're going to be talking AI because that's a really hot topic and stuff as well. But let's get into the show. Let's start properly. Who are you? What do you do? Who is your father? What does he do? No, what brings you here, Sha-mayne?
Okay, so Sha-mayne, and I am from Friyay. Basically,
Friyay.
Friyay. We're a generative AI studio. And what we do is we provide small and medium-sized businesses with tools to help them grow and leverage time, basically. But the key thing is, what's really important to us is how that works at the intersection of human-centered design and AI. Do you want to say hello?
No, yeah, because we've got more guests coming in.
Yes.
Elodie's here now, so thank you.
Hello.
Thanks for joining. So what we're going to do, just feel free to go grab a drink at the bar. And yeah, Kenny over there will take care of you and stuff, and we'll just continue with this. So we'll get to interact with the audience as well. This is a first for us.
We'll see how it goes.
You never know. I mean, we run meetups and other events, data science and AI meetups, and we do the blockchain meetup. So this should be fine, but whenever there's firsts, things can always go wrong, but we'll fix it in the edit. So I think that's fine.
All good.
But Friyay, so where were you? Like, what was your career before getting into Friyay.ai?
And you want to go all the way back?
Let's go all the way back. We've got the couches here for the what do you call it? The psychologist couch kind of thing. So, this is a deep dive.
Okay, so it started basically in the days of graphic design when we were still using pens and ink.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're still drawing with French curves.
Wow, okay.
So I was a graphic designer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, and it was, I think originally it was very much a craft. You were a good designer because, one, you had a good eye, but secondly, you really knew how to use your hand and tools. But then all of a sudden, this little square box showed up.
Okay, what was
the
that?
Little Mac.
Oh.
And it changed our lives, basically. What actually happened was we started now generating galleys of copy in there instead of hand kerning things. So I think what's happened is that at every stage, my professions really felt the change in technology, and that was the first shift. And we started using Photoshop where it only went back once. You can only undo once, which is insane.
Okay.
So you'll save like 10,000 files. And then from there, owned my own design company, and basically that was brand strategy, and it shifted as I was the owner from actually working on the tools to mainly doing strategy and business development and marketing. And then from there, all of a sudden, this web thing came along.
Okay.
This web thing. People started wanting
some
this
sort of
web
information
thing.
superhighway?
This kind of, and I went, oh my God, well, if we're not looking at that now, we are in trouble. So I jumped from that company to working, not in web. I suddenly went, okay, I don't know if I want to do web, but I definitely want to do apps.
Yeah.
So I moved into building iOS apps in another company that went from 3 people to 40 in 2 years. So that was an insane journey.
Wow.
And then from there to a healthcare agency where we're building more apps. And then from there, I did a switch because all of a sudden I could see what technology was doing, but a lot of things that people were doing was not understanding people, right? A lot of people are just building things, not understanding people, and that's where the whole idea of service design, human-centric design, it's all part of design, but started really pushing that. Ended up working in a digital transformation company, doing digital transformation for large corporations, so it's a nice shift. And then from there, went to Stone and Chalk, did some corporate work there, and then it was suddenly, what's this thing that's come along?
Yeah.
And my founders and myself, we suddenly realized this is going to be another big technological shift. And it's not going to be one of those things like, I love blockchain, I love Web3, but that's really hard to access for everybody. But there's this new technology which is accessible to everybody.
Straight away.
It's in my pocket.
Yeah.
You got an iPhone, you got a Samsung, you got a phone, you're in. And we just went.
Brett here signed up pretty much straight away and was easily onto the various AI tools.
You probably felt the same thing.
Trying it,
Yeah.
It's hard to learn, but once you get into it,
Yeah.
you can start to get a feel for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you start to get a feel for it as you said, and it's just like you said as well accessible. Like it's right there. So yeah. Well, very very cool. All right, so over to the second question, folks. What we want to understand is now that you're a Friyay, learning more about what you guys are doing there. What kind of customers are you talking to, and when it comes to AI, what are the things that you're hearing from them?
Yep. So it's been a bit of a journey. It hasn't been long, but it's been a really interesting journey. So we've talked to large organisations, and we've also talked to obviously small businesses. And where we think actually right now is the focus for us really is small businesses, and there's a few reasons for that. And I think we've discussed this a few times, but the large organisations, we've had some very good conversations where teams basically know the power of AI, right? Like corny phrase, but they understand the capability, they're excited about it, but they're living in an organisation that has a lot of infrastructure, a lot of red tape and legacy systems or legacy thinking maybe. So what we were finding when we were talking to large organisations, even though the people were excited, people they're talking to were excited, once you hit a certain point, you had to deal with tech teams, you had to deal with risk and compliance, you had to deal with lawyers, and a few of the conversations we had, some of the comments that we got were, and this is a government agency, which I can't name, I won't name, but one of their comments was, we don't allow generative AI in our office, and we definitely will not until it's 100% accurate.
Wow, what a comment.
Yeah. So, I mean, we sat there and went, but we're not accurate. Humans are not accurate. We're the ones probably make the most errors, possibly. So I think large organisations are a perfect place to use AI and to test it, especially internally first if they're concerned. But it was just too hard for us to get in there. If anyone knows of people or large orgs that want to do that, let us know.
We've got a good representation here. We've got small, medium, I guess large organisations all in here represented. And you're absolutely right. Like that is a funny comment, so we'll come back to that. But with larger organisations, they're not known for being nimble and quick. And that's okay because there's other advantages that come from working with those. But that is a really funny comment going back to the 100% thing. Because when if AI ever gets to 100% accuracy with generative AI anyways, that guy's out of a job, or girl. So do they really want that? You know what I mean? So
I also think it's like AI isn't about, this is a different topic I know, but it's not about replacing jobs, right? Okay. It's what we're finding is that it's really good at doing tasks, right? It's good at doing tasks, individual tasks, not at a whole role.
Yeah.
So there are studies, and like LinkedIn did a study about careers and in the workplace, and they basically say AI at this point is really doing three things, right? It's either going to augment your role, it's going to disrupt your role, or you're insulated. Like insulated is like teachers, hairdressers, doctors, because we don't really want a robot to cut our hair. I don't think at this point.
One day soon.
Maybe. Maybe your hair, not my hair. And then
give it a go.
Things like disrupted is like translators. Okay, like you and I know are avid. I'm an Otter fan and you're a Fireflies fan. Like those roles have changed, but a translator is no longer typing the transcript. They should actually be digging deeper into the transcript. So their roles
it's got
are
connected knowledge and stuff.
And then augmented roles would be like a marketing assistant or a marketing manager, where now you are actually going to get data at a faster pace. You can actually dig into it, hopefully with better insights. So I think it's that whole notion of it being fear-based is probably, I mean, who's going to know what's going to change in 10 years' time or 5? But right now, it's more to do with how can it support and augment you and your tasks. That's what we're seeing. And the reason why we're looking at working with SMEs is because no SME wakes up and goes, oh, how can I use AI to, make my life better? But they're all frantic, right? They're all super busy. They just want to pay their bills. They want to get customers in, and they've all got small teams. So AI is the perfect thing where how can you make your one salesperson act like 3 salespeople? How can I make my 5 salesperson team act like 10? So you're not removing people. You're actually supporting them. You're teaching them. You're growing with them, and they're supporting you.
You're empowering organizations that way.
Exactly.
It's interesting that you say that it's the tasks and stuff, and I agree with you. And I think it was the right kind of thing to say because people were scared that AI was going to take jobs. That was the initial kind of fear of the unknown. And humans are great. I think we've survived because we do have that fear. We didn't poke our heads out of the caves when lava was pouring down because that's how we learned to survive and become tribes and stuff. But the other flip side of that is that from us saying that it's tasks that are going to get taken over, I've seen this other side of things where AI is being rejected by some folks because they're like, well, that's only for mundane tasks. My job is special. I don't need AI.
Yeah.
And so I see sometimes that flip side from some of the experts in different kind of fields pushing away. Not all, because there's definitely experts that have embraced it, but there's some that push it away because they think it's only for the mundane tasks, yet it's been proven to be quite a powerful reasoning and brainstorming kind of engine. So what do you think about that flip side?
That's a really interesting point. I actually think those professionals or the people that I think they're experts, they actually will probably benefit, not the most, a lot from AI. What we're finding really interesting is, if I take an example of a lawyer, I love examples because it always drives the point
I
across.
thought you were going to say I love lawyers. That's okay too.
Okay, not
We'll
quite.
edit that out.
Yeah, maybe. But what we're seeing, as an example, with lawyers, you've got a lot of senior partners are at the top, and they're really busy. And then you've got a lot of junior lawyers. Now, what the junior lawyers are doing right now is actually searching for cases, right? Most of them are writing cases, looking for cases. They're supporting the senior lawyers. But what we're seeing is that what happens when that senior lawyer retires?
Yeah.
Or what happens when they're overloaded with work? They become like a block, right? They're a barrier to things getting done.
Right.
So what you can do with your expertise actually is encode it. So there's this term from a guy called Ethan Mollick. He's one of the actually blogs that we follow a lot.
Definitely worth a follow.
Do you read that one too?
I don't know if I read his blog. I read all his posts on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
he's got a lot
amazing.
of posts, like really insightful kind of stuff, as well as the teachings that he's got. I follow him on X or Twitter, and LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
Really good.
So his blog's really good, and one of the things he talks about is creating grimoires.
Grimoires.
And a grimoire is it's a word for a spell book.
Okay.
So for the idea that you can, if you think about...
Like Harry Potter stuff?
Yeah. Okay. So if you think about if you are actually a senior partner and you have all this stuff in your head, it's kind of stuck there as opposed to actually encoding parts of it or whatever parts you want to actually then pass to your junior lawyers. So then they know what to look for. Because I think a lot of cases are, and look, I'm not a lawyer, so don't quote me, but
legal advice, folks.
A lot of lawyers actually know the cases that they're thinking about in their heads. Right?
Yeah.
They don't actually write them down. So there's a lot of having to wait for knowledge as opposed to, can you imagine the efficiencies if you encode the ability for these juniors or whoever's helping you to do it? Yeah.
But they just can tap in. They don't have to actually take the partner's time. They can just talk to the AI version of the partner kind of thing.
Yeah. And the other thing that I think it's interesting too is also the idea of, as an expert, right now you know what looks good.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Generative AI doesn't.
It doesn't know if it's right or wrong.
No, it just knows.
It will confidently say things that are absolutely wrong.
I do this one test where I'll ask it something, get an answer, and then I ask the next question, did you make any of the above up? And I always get, yeah, I made that one up.
Oh.
Have you done that one?
And even, I haven't done that, but like there are various tests where it's got limitations, right? There are certain things that generative AI models themselves can't do, like counting. Get it to say how many letter R's there are in strawberry.
Yeah.
It doesn't know. Or how many members of the board are here when you've uploaded a document. It'll say 14 sometimes, then it'll say 15. It does not know.
Yeah.
But that's why people add in extra things. They've created something called function calling, where it uses your words to create Python code that then runs, and you know that that's right because it's actually running data science code. It's deterministic then, rather than AI just as it stands in getting out the next letter, the next word, the next paragraph is probabilistic. So
yeah, it's probabilistic.
Yeah.
So it will still generate, and you can get really good at your prompts and get it better, but you're still not going to know. It's still not going to know, except for you, what good looks like.
Yeah.
And you know what good looks like
Experts
because
will know.
you're an expert, in whatever field you're in. So you're still the person there. There's this really interesting guy. His name is Jeremy Summers, and he's Australian. He works in the US, but he is, I think, in the forefront of design agencies, creative agencies, and his point is, like, creativity is still going to come from humans because it's based on of course you can generate images. It is creative. I can do anything in DALL-E, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But what actually sticks and what's actually meaningful is because of your and my experience as a human, as a person. The nuances, the understanding, that's what gets you some amazing result, right? So his idea is like, creativity is ultimately understood by us. We'll know what's good. We can provide it. But he's changed the whole style of an agency. Like I just listened to a podcast and watched a few things he's done. He's really, really shifted the whole way a design agency works, a creative agency works through AI.
Amazing.
Yeah.
On that note, with everything now being easier to access and there's lower barriers of entry to these like amazing tools, and everyone gets uplifted. All the ships rise with the rising tide, right?
Yeah.
So the difference is still the same difference we have now, where experts, because of their knowledge and their extra creativity, they are experts for a reason. But in a world where everyone can now catch up to what the expert could do yesterday, the expert of tomorrow needs to figure out new things, right?
Yeah.
So, do you see some friction kind of happening there, where there's this transition?
So there was a study done by BCG. They gave everyone basically ChatGPT. Yeah. And some of them with instruction and some without. But overall, the ones without instruction, what they found was the lowest performing consultants improved by like 40%.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they improved by 40%.
Okay.
The high performing consultants improved like 16%. So your whole thing about, it raises all, the tide rises, raises all boats, I think is true. But what it doesn't, that's with no instruction though. What it doesn't mean is that the people that are high performing, it's just as a test, doesn't mean that the people that are high performing will not also get better. The reason why we're called Friyay, besides
etymology,
the fact that, I know, is because we really felt that with generative AI, there's a possibility for us to work in a much better way that allows us to focus more on meaningful work. Okay. Right? What we believe is meaningful. Everyone's got different definitions.
Yep.
But then ultimately, my day shouldn't be full of annoying admin, to me, mundane things.
Yep.
Should be about the things I'm excited about, why I do this role, why I'm working here. And then ultimately everyone should feel that every day is like a Friday.
Yeah. It's Friyay.
So yeah.
Okay. I love it. I thought that it might be something like, every day feels like a Friday when you're, we'll get AI to figure out the slogan if there's not already one. All right. Well, we're going to call for a short intermission and we'll be back now.
We were up to
short intermission,
talking.
folks. How'd this get here?
What happens when you get...
Oh my gosh. The power of AI. The water looks weird, folks.
Was it Mid-Journey or was it DALL-E that gave you that?
Tastes like Mid-Journey.
Yeah, good.
It's It's really good. This is it's actually a good one because what they do here, and we're at Crypto Lulu, or Bar Lulu as it's more affectionately known. It was called Crypto Lulu because we did an NFT project where they were going to have memberships as NFTs, and you got perks the more you came and all that kind of stuff. And then it launched during the height of crypto winter going away and stuff. But in any case, we still get to do cool stuff here. It's a really great venue. There's a lot of events.
It's like a great drink.
They've crushed olives here. So it's, it's not just olives on top. They've actually crushed the olives. So it's
That's impressive.
Murky, tasty, really good water, folks. Only if you're over 18. But let's get back to, we were talking about, some of the observations, but I want to talk about stats because you've done some cool preparation getting ready for this. And I think you've had some research into some interesting stats that you've been seeing. Can you tell us more about that?
So it was actually I did a talk at another conference, and it was also at another conference I attended from the National AI Centre. And what I found really interesting from there was, it was a stat that was quoted that basically Australians are the most nervous globally about AI.
What? Australians are scared?
I know. It was an Ipsos study.
Okay.
And it was done
Were they scared of Ipsos, the people doing the study? Did they scare them?
There were like 31 countries.
Yeah.
And they do hefty surveys, like 22,000 or more people. And I think the global average about products and services with AI and it making them nervous was around about 50%.
Okay.
But Australia came out at 70%. 70% nerves. And then
oh my gosh.
The least nervous was Japan at 23. And
really?
And the reason why I remembered that stat was I went,
okay,
really? And you can find it in Ipsos, but there were more statistics about overall Australians are under average for knowing about one above average for nervousness, but under average for knowing about AI, knowing how AI can help, and solutions for it.
That's really interesting. We'll put that link in the show notes, folks. So check that one out. But I was just in a cafe today actually, and I heard someone talking to someone else about it, and they were worried about the inaccuracies of AI. They're like, "Oh, are you using it?" Like, yeah, but we're just a bit mindful because it makes mistakes. Yeah. And it's just like, but you don't, going back to your human point, you don't talk, I like working with Mark, but he makes mistakes. Like, we all make mistakes. This is we're accepting of it when it's human. When it comes to machines, we're not. And that tolerance, I think, it's right when it comes to things like planes and self-driving cars and whatnot, even though the numbers are far different, like the number of crashes from humans. And I know we don't have all self-driving cars, and there's good reason for that, but we just have such a high tolerance when it comes to humans versus like machines making it, instead of thinking, well, in this case, if there is a human as part of the process, then there's less chance of that. But I think people are thinking that AI is just going to do everything on its own, so it can't make mistakes. It has to be 100%. But then what are you going to do if the AI is doing all those things?
So there's that term that that's used a lot called human in the loop.
Yep.
And basically it's the idea that there's a process, and then ultimately there's always going to be a person, a human that checks the process. And I agree with it, but at Friyay, we actually think it's the wrong way around.
Okay.
It should actually be AI in the loop, because when you say human in the loop, it just sounds like you are in their loop. It's actually a mechanical loop, where in fact it's actually we're using AI in our loop. Right?
Wait, we're not in the matrix? We're not in their loop?
Who knows? That's a different conversation.
Okay.
Different podcast, maybe?
Okay, yeah. Down the rabbit hole for part 2. So it's AI in the loop.
Yeah, because I think it's like no matter what you're doing, it's because it's a task, right?
Yep.
It's something you need. And the other thing that we talk about too is that you need to consider is it's not just AI for AI's sake.
Yeah.
If you're a business, you need to really think about what your goals and strategy is, right? What are you trying to achieve, and how can AI augment you towards that role? It's not just, I'm just going to use that tool. That's not the point. The point is, how do I actually use AI to 10x me or 5x me or my teams? So it's got to go with your strategy. So it's all about the human. It's not, I'm just in their loop, and then it helps me in my loop.
I like that because it means that it's supposed to be, and this is what we're saying with the stuff that we're doing with Psych, where it's unlocking human capital. It's supposed to help you get to that next stage. And I believe we've got another guest. Hello. Who's that in the dark? Oh, good to see you, mate. Thanks for joining. This is Scott from Hudson's, everyone.
Hello.
Scott. Hello, Scott. There you go. So we were just talking about humans in the loop versus AI in the loop. But just going back to the next kind of question and I think it's kind of related. So we were talking about statistics before that you're seeing. Apparently Australia is the most scared when it comes to
Most nervous.
AI uptake and stuff in terms of workers. We're a nervous kind of people, of course. But given that you're talking about, a way to empower, and you've got on the other hand of the other part of the equation, a workforce here in Australia that is kind of scared a little bit or a bit hesitant. How do you kind of marry the two? What's the opportunity, do you think?
So what we're hearing, I think fear most of the time is based on just not knowing, right? Like not knowing, not understanding. And I was just talking about it earlier while you were getting your
My special olives.
your special
Special water
mid-journey drink.
There's drinks over there if you want to grab some, Scott.
Was that basically, I've lost track. What were we saying?
Oh, I was just saying that on the one hand we've got humans being scared.
Oh yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and then but on the other side there's this opportunity because you see it's not human in the loop per se, but it's more about how do you bring AI into your
Yes.
kind of workflows.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there's an opportunity.
Yeah, and I think the opportunity is one thing that we were talking about in the break was, is it also because what we're hearing in the media? Like we hear a lot about regulation,
Yep.
ethics and privacy and cybersecurity. It's all kind of rolled into this big bundle. But what I think we're hearing from the SMEs that are really sort of want to understand, who are more forward thinking and can see potential is, they just don't know.
Right.
So a lot of times we get asked, what can I do? Where do I start? It's the first thing. Where do I start? How do I know where to go to?
Yeah.
Then they ask, what can I use and how can it help me?
Yeah.
So what I find interesting is that I guess we live in this world, right? We're like, gee, you can do a million things. Not
Eat,
million,
sleep, breathe,
Yeah.
drink AI, folks. We're doing that.
But I think, and I thought the nervous thing was interesting because I just went, oh, now it kind of makes sense potentially. But basically, most people don't know where to start. They just don't understand because we're hearing more about this regulatory stuff as opposed to maybe more of the what you actually can do and where to start.
Yeah.
Hello.
Welcome.
I can't see, so.
Welcome, friend. Please feel free to grab a
Welcome,
drink.
silhouette.
It's like a real TV show, folks.
I know.
Welcome. Come on in.
Grab a drink if you want.
I told you, camera folks, this is live. There's people coming in as we speak.
It's good.
Kenny over there is going to help out with drinks and stuff, so feel free to grab stuff. We've probably got a few more minutes on the rest of the podcast.
Yeah.
But as you said, like the people being scared of AI because of the media, like kind of creating.
I'm making a guess on that, by the way.
No, I think it's true because there's reports. Like Goldman Sachs did a report on, I forget the name of like I spoke about it last week, but I need my AI to remember the name. But Goldman Sachs did something, Sequoia, the venture capital firm, also did something. And the titles sound negative. The media's picked it up as negative. But when you read the Goldman Sachs report, it's actually very balanced. They had people positive for AI on the one side and people negative on AI. And yet the overall initial kind of thing that comes out is, oh, Goldman Sachs is negative. Goldman Sachs, I have changed their name, is negative on AI when they're not. So I think it definitely perpetuates based on these initial kind of like fears, because if it bleeds, it leads. There's that selling point as well. But there's so much more positive to it.
Well, we've also had, and this is my idea of the notion of getting ideas to experiment. So we're working with a client at the moment, and for a product, for a assistant that will help their younger casual staff members. And when we started the process, we explained the whole process and how we're going to do it. And when we first started testing, they basically were sort of going, that answer's wrong, that one's wrong, that one's wrong, that one's wrong, that one's half, yes. And I said, that's all right, because it's the first test. We'll tweak, we'll change, and we'll keep improving. And then we got to a point where it's not like a dumb chatbot in the past where it'll only answer 2 questions, right? If you ask it a question, it will actually reply within the parameters that you set out.
Yeah.
And it was answering things, because this is meant to be for like young teenagers working in stores. And basically, some of the questions they were going to get are going to be like, can I watch TV, right? Or they're going to say anything they want. So we allowed that to happen. But some of the responses were actually, even though they weren't technically 100% accurate, correct, they were logically correct.
Right.
So then the next testing that we did was we actually did it in the store, on the floor, and we got a whole bunch of younger people to deal with it. And what I find really interesting was actually my client's turnaround reaction to it. So what he actually saw was that he realized that he'd been spending too much time focusing on the 5 things that were wrong,
right,
versus the 8 or 15 that were correct, trying to nail that down. But the actual reception of using the tool by the people that would potentially use it was incredible. Like, they sort of went, wow. And what you actually had to do to get there is nothing like what you used to have to do.
Yeah.
So the potential is there, but I think you almost need to just do it, try it, experiment internally.
Give in to the AI, folks. Let it overtake your mind, your body, No, but you're right.
That's a bit far, but...
Sorry. Yeah, you have to experiment. I
think you have to experiment, and you need to, you have to experiment on what you do yourself.
Yep.
And also, you try it internally with your teams. Like, I don't think there's any fear about it. I think the fear is in the unknown.
Can you imagine if the internet, as soon as they saw that, oh my gosh, this is going to increase how much people can share criminal activity and porn, and they just like, okay, we're just going to stop. We're not going to use this thing anymore. Yeah. No, but there were so many more positive things. Yeah. Some would argue some of those things are positive, neither here nor there. But there are far more positive things that come out of technology like this. And I think for the most part, humans are good, and we want to progress forward. And so I can see a lot more things happening. But I think at the same time, this is just the norm. This is what happens when there's something new. And there's the early adopters, the folks in the room here that embrace it to begin with. And those that don't will be, unfortunately, left behind.
Yeah. I think the other thing too, I think it's a key is, don't think about AI by just like as a task. Like, it is a task, but think about what you do around it. So one thing that we really look at is, don't look at it as, have you heard the term skeuomorphism? Skeuomorphic?
Skeuomorphic?
Yeah,
yep, I have.
Skeuomorphic is...
I can't explain it to you right now, but I have. I've heard of it.
Skeuomorphic is when, you think about your iPhone, maybe, when iOS, God knows, 6 or something. Do you remember when your diary looked like a diary? Like it was an app, but it was designed like it was 3D, like a diary. Yeah. And then the recording was actually like, had a microphone, a shiny big microphone. So skeuomorphic is where basically you're taking something into a different context, but making it look like the past context.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
So at the moment, I think most people are using AI in a skeuomorphic way.
Right.
Right? So when you look at AI and you start doing things, try not to do that. Rethink actually how that using this task, this AI to do this task, what does it do to potentially the rest of your, you want to call it process, your flow, or your day? Because we've totally shifted the way we do our meetings now, for example. Okay. So as an example, we use Otter. We love Otter. I wish I bought shares in Otter.
Firefly's fan over here, folks.
Yeah, Otter's better. No, I'm kidding. But Otter is an incredible a meeting assistant. It comes to all our meetings, and it transcribes, right? But the really amazing thing is, what happens next is that we no longer just have meetings, and then later on, you do minutes or you do notes or everything. Basically, we now have changed our calendars so that we do a meeting, and we always meet up straight after, right? Oh. Straight after calls, we meet up, and we instantly do what we have to do because Otter just does it. So
it's summarized that it's giving
well,
you.
whatever it is. So if we've got a client proposal, for example, we will talk through the proposal in the meeting. Let's say it's a proposal meeting. We will literally hop on a call straight away, and the proposal will be done in the next 15 minutes.
Wow. Using AI.
Done. All of it using Otter. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Wow.
it's getting more and more accurate actually in terms, and the summaries are really good. So sometimes we also don't go to each other's meetings. We don't have to now, which means that we're all not stuck in meetings that we don't have to go to. But you got to think about how you use it so that it becomes. There's no point recording the meeting and then leaving it till like you would have done maybe in the past. Rewrite your notes at the end of the day because that's a real humdrum admin stuff to do. Just do it straight away because it's right there.
On that note, the CEO of Zoom, who's interestingly enough, the share price of Zoom shot up as COVID cases went down, then shot up again as COVID cases went up during the second wave again.
Yeah.
So there's not correlation isn't causation, but seems pretty similar to me. But he was noted recently as saying he wants everyone to be bringing Zoom into every kind of meeting, right? And he wants you to do everything on Zoom and stuff. But their goal is that they will create something where you have an AI version of you that you can just send to a meeting. Now, do you think that people are going to, maybe not this generation, because I would probably think that's a bit disrespectful if I'm talking to not your AI, not you, but your AI version when I really want something important.
That's interesting.
So maybe it's like for the humdrum kind of stuff, I just need to book something with the folks here. I can just talk to your AI. But I feel like in future, people are just going to send it. There's going to be some faux pas in the workplace where it's like, why did you send me to your AI?
Yeah.
Rather than, I actually wanted to talk to you kind of thing. But do you think that that's just something that we've got to get over? Because I'm 40, folks, but like we're old school. Like, do you think that younger generations, that's just going to be nothing?
Well, so that study too said that basically there's a big difference in the generations, right? I think the generations after us, they're very used to tech. So their adoption is much higher than in the older generations. Yeah, definitely. So look, it's the way I see that is, the thought of my parents tracking me on a regular basis would have been horrifying when I was young.
Because of all the stuff you got up to, right?
Yeah. But now I know so many people that basically use apps like Find My on their iPhone.
Find My Kid?
Yeah, and Find My Kid. And 360 so that they can see where their kids are, right?
And the kids are just accepting of it because they've grown up in this.
Look at Snapchat. All the kids can see where all their friends are.
Wow.
Now, that's a huge shift.
So I don't know. Does anyone here use Snapchat in the audience? Hands up.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say 10% of the audience uses Snapchat here.
But I don't know, do most of you use Find My as an example? Like
does anyone use like Find My
Apple
phone
tags?
and stuff? Okay. Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So my daughter at the moment is in Europe, and I didn't used to use Find My, but I said to her, because she's traveling with just one friend, I said, can I use Find My while you're in Europe? Because I don't know, it's going to freak me out more or less, but it's just so that I can sort of have an idea of at least where she is,
She says she's in London, but you see her on an island in
Croatia.
No,
that's not good now. Well, it's quite funny.
Fine.
The other day, she was meant to be in her hostel, which I knew because her bag tag was there.
Okay.
And I suddenly saw her on a freeway.
The bag tag was moving?
No, she was on a freeway, and I was freaking out. And my husband said to me, "This is why you don't have Find My." And I went,
exactly.
"I agree," but she was actually spending a night somewhere else. But the place was underneath the freeway.
Oh, okay.
I was
See,
like,
there's always an
honey, can you let me know
explanation
you're not on a freeway because it's been half an hour on that freeway? But yeah, there you go.
See, this is
maybe
the
not
thing.
a good idea.
Technology is definitely a double-edged sword, but I think for the most part we're going to use it for good. As we wrap up, like just tell us more. One more thing about Friyay. You guys have been building things like AI assistants for the folks that you work with, and I know there's many other things, but can you just tell us a little bit more? The live audience here, exciting. But tell us a bit more about the AI assistant stuff that you guys are building for your clients.
Yeah. So we do a few things, and it really depends on the companies that we talk to and what help they need. So one of them is training and workshops. So what we're finding is a lot of the leadership teams really want to start using generative AI in their companies. But you've got to this is the human-centric part of it, right? You've got to get your teams on board.
Yeah.
And you've got to also understand where they're at. So if you require some training, workshops to get your teams at a certain level to understand, then definitely we can help you with that. And we also, we've worked with some companies where we'll help them understand existing tools that they can use and to work with. That kind of comes part of the training. And then we've been building quite a fair few assistants for our customers as well. And they range from companies that need it to, let's say, for sales or for actually internal assistance, external sales assistants, or even actually making their processes more efficient. So a lot of times people have large Excel spreadsheets. Hands up here who's got a large Excel spreadsheet. Okay.
Everyone in the room put their hand up. Even the bartender put his hand up, folks. So.
Exactly. You know, how can you actually shift that large Excel spreadsheet into something that is actually something that everyone can use in a much simpler and more potentially accurate way too?
I think there's
tasks.
Absolutely. And bringing those tasks together is super important, and understanding like workflows. Like one thing I think we should leave people with is that if you know how to use these tools, you can unlock powers you didn't know you have. And the example I'll give here, and please comment on this, is that there was a hackathon, and typically hackathons are the domain of the tech nerds, the folks that can code, me from a few years ago and stuff when I used to do a lot more of that. But this one was won by a project manager, someone that knew the domain, knew the industry, understood how to command the AI to do something that they had been using it before to do. And this project manager, who doesn't code, was able to code up a solution that won this hackathon.
Was it an AI hackathon?
It was an AI hackathon.
Excellent.
Excellent, right? Like this is the type of stuff that I think we'll see where you might have a great idea, but it used to stop you from doing something before. You might be an EA, or you might be an analyst, or whatever kind of role you're doing, and you just had this great idea, but you couldn't do it before because there were barriers in terms of time, in terms of learning how to code. Yet now you can just go, hey, can you write some code for me and how to do this? And then it instructs you, and you're like, I don't know how to do that. What steps do I need to take? You said before, like, where do I get started? People go, well, what prompt do I have to like put in? Ask the AI.
You can ask the AI to tell you what prompt to put in.
Yeah. So someone like, this is what I heard anecdotally. It was great timing that this happened today, but this guy was talking to his colleague at this cafe, and he was saying, like, I'm seeing people change their jobs to prompt engineers. And he's like, I just wonder about that, because isn't prompt engineering just something you can just ask the AI what's the best prompt and it'll just tell you? So, I mean, what do you think about all that?
I agree. I think you can definitely ask the prompt to help you, but I also think the difference here is the expertise. Going back to the expertise, right? Because it will take you so far, and what you get out of it, you need to still know. Being the human, you know, the AI's in your loop. You need to know what is good.
The expert knows what is good.
Yeah.
The AI...
You're still creative. You're still the expert.
But you know what? I think it's okay if you got an AI telling you that, Mark, you're doing a really good job.
Yes.
I think that it's okay to have AI tell you.
Mine tells me that every day.
Yeah, right. But look, how can people best get in contact with you? Where are you best found? Are you on X or LinkedIn?
Well, we're on LinkedIn. We have our website, Friyay.ai. And
in the show notes.
Sorry?
It's in the show notes.
Oh, it'll be
Check
in the
it
show
out.
notes, okay. Yep. We'll also do those links to the studies, actually.
Yeah, I don't know if this is like the right level, but it's about here, folks.
So Friyay.ai, it's Sha-mayne at Friyay.ai, though my name's terrible to spell, so it'll probably be in the show notes.
There's a hyphen in there.
Yeah, I know, there's a hyphen in there.
Yeah. I wish I had a hyphen.
I know you don't want a hyphen.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn. Always a great place to chat on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Well, folks, thank you to our live audience that's here, who are going to go.
We
can't
can't
see.
The silhouettes.
It's like a live studio audience and stuff. There's lights here. This is what it feels like to be a firefly or something like that.
Yeah,
you can't see anything else. And folks watching online when this goes out in a few days, thank you so much for joining us, Sha-mayne.
Thank you for having me. It's been great fun.
We're going to talk more soon.
Yes,
All
we
right.
will.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Oh my God, there's real applause. This is not AI, folks. This is real. Okay, now we're done. Woo! Thank you. Hi, everyone that's joined us.
Hello.
And all right, let's light this candle. Can you say something again?
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Eventually, when I have proper equipment, I'll be able to just sit here and see
And not
that
think
everything's
about it.
working.
Still double check.
Yeah, exactly. What I might do, I'm going to get Kenny to turn off the music because it's
Oh
bothering.
yeah, it's probably going to echo.
It is, yeah. I'm going to, sorry. This is the intermission, so feel free to grab a drink. No.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks for being our first interactive audience kind of thing. That was great. Let's get into, so still recording. All right, I'm going to be paranoid again. Just say something again. Just want to make sure
Hello.
Yep,
Don't
you're
be
good.
paranoid.
Test.
We can chop a lot of that
We
out,
can,
though.
yeah, that's definitely going to be chopped out. There's going to be this gap where I'm just walking off camera and you just got to like wait for like a few minutes. All right.
You're going to change tape.
Yeah, ma'am. I know it's like 5:20, but I'm just going to put a pause now. Test. Say again.
Test.
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 Okay,
Test.
we're good. Where were we up to?